We Saved You a Seat is sponsored by the Oklahoma Family Network. Oklahoma Family Network focuses on supporting families of children and youth with special health care needs and disabilities, as well as families who have children with a mental health or behavioral health diagnosis. Oklahoma Family Network provides families with emotional support, resource navigation, parent-to-parent engagement opportunities, and wants to ensure quality health care for all children and families by building strong and effective family-professional partnerships. You are absolutely going to be amazed and love the wealth of information focused on resources for families which Meske shares today to help serve her, her family, her kids, and her parenting journey. Thank you again for joining us for part 2 of my conversation with Meske.
And I think I'm going to start off with TBRI because that is my thing. It's my thing. TBRI, Trust-Based Relational Intervention. It is a foundation that was developed for foster care kids. It's a foundation for how you connect with other people, the way you speak to them, which is so easy, simple, but we don't do it. Even the people with the best families and they have all the friends and like they're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're missing the mark. When I took the class as a mom, I thought that this was like me learning about how to deal with my kids and this all the things that we were facing, the behaviors, I'm a single mom. They're running crazy, like they're driving me. I don't have a break. I don't have a support system. I don't have any. Like, what do I do? And so I did mine through Lilyfield. It's a program called Empower OKC, and they've got all kinds of classes for new moms. I did most of the class. Their class stuff is really all I ever went to there, but they are a support system. I mean, you have a person that kind of checks in with you and asks you if do you need it? Can we bring you anything? They've got a diaper program and they've got all kinds of stuff. But Lilyfield also is therapy. It's psychiatrists and psychologists and behavior stuff and they're all trained in TBRI. They're all trauma informed. They all talk the language. So when I was there learning about this stuff, my kids are being therapy. I call it therapied. The way they're talking, I mean, not technically in therapy, they're just playing with them, but they all are doing those connection things. They're getting down on their level. They're looking them in the face. They're letting them kind of lead the way and see what they want to do and showing them some independence and those connections. I mean, it's that whole setup, the way they have that, and the fact that all of their people are trained in this foundation is I saw it so quickly how it started to work. It was working on all of us. And so that through them, that led to like Circle of Security, which is another kind of the same type of relational. It's not really therapy, but it's a way of thinking that is science based. I mean, there's science there. There's a lot of research behind it. So it's not just somebody just made this up and whatever. There's a lot of history there, but so that's kind of where I started. I don't know how I got so lucky into finding that first. I do also want to say there's also a series called Making Sense of Your Worth that is so incredibly good. It is something that the Halo Foundation also does this training, and it's probably so much harder than any therapy I've ever been through in my entire life. And it's only, I mean, it's maybe, I don't know, 16 weeks long, maybe a little bit shorter than that. It's not, you go once a week, but it will change your life. Even if you think you don't have trauma, you don't have issues, you don't have anything you need to work on. Not that anybody would say that, but it is still, you will learn so much about yourself and other people. And even if it's just being empathetic to other people, like signs to see other people that are struggling that you wouldn't necessarily notice, it's helpful for everybody. But it's tough. If you do have trauma, I mean, it's tough. And they say several times throughout this training, like if you need to stop, if you need to step out, I mean, it can be very tricky the way people react to realizing some of the stuff about themselves or about their families or their parents. But it's so good. If you're looking for you are intent on finding ways to heal yourself, that's a really, really good one. So then I'm still, I'm looking for things for my kids. This is what I'm doing. My kids they've been traumatized. We've been through a situation, domestic violence situation, and it wasn't good. It wasn't, and I didn't know what to even say to them really. I mean, at that point in time, I still had, when SoonerStart started coming to our house, which I kind of the day after our event happened, I started, I mean, I knew we needed help before that, but I didn't have the ability to do that. I wasn't allowed to do that. So when started coming into our house, my baby was about between 2 and 2.5, and he said 7 words total. That's it. So I was looking for anything, speech therapy, all the things. I mean, whatever I could get. And so, a lot of times these places they work with other agencies and they all kind of coordinate. And so at one point I kind of got in trouble because I had SoonerStart coming in, but I also had I think Parent Promise, and I guess they're funded through the same. And it took a while for like them to realize that one was doing the other, that they were both coming here. And then they were like, well, you kind of have to pick which one because you can't do both. And I'm like, oh, great. But I didn't know that that was a thing, and they never said anything. So, SoonerStart came in January, and he was saying 7 words at almost 3 years old, 2.5 years old. By the time they left, I was like, does this kid ever stop talking? I mean, it was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. But then we still had a gap, because he was 3, but he couldn't start school for another year. Like he was home for a year. Um, and that's how I found Sunbeam Family Services. I actually was looking for therapy and counseling and stuff through them, but come to find out they have a school program, early Head Start. Well, let me just pause right there. That is what public schools should always look like. Always. They are incredible. It is everything that you would ever want your kids to walk into every day. The warm atmosphere, the everything is very sensory friendly. It's not, loud or echoey. And I mean, they've made so many accommodations for that stuff. There's sensory stuff all over the place. There's snacks, food wise. There's always apples and bananas, and I mean, everywhere you go, they're trying to give you some snacks, and they're making sure people are fed, that they have water, they're hydrated. That's important. When my kids are dysregulated, I immediately ask them, "Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Are you tired?" Because usually one of those 3 things you'll make progress. If you can fix those 3 things, you're usually doing pretty good after that. That's basic needs. And it's everywhere you turn in there. The student to teacher ratio is, I mean, amazing. So much better than anywhere I've ever seen. It is inclusive. There are kids there with fairly severe disabilities. And there are some kids that don't have a disability at all. And they are together and they're learning about all the things, and they make accommodations for those that need accommodations. And it's because it's accommodations for the entire class as opposed to a certain person. They are learning inclusiveness, and they're learning how to deal with real world things. Like, people don't always look like you. People don't always talk like you. People don't always think like you. But we're going to figure out a way that we can all do this together and get to the same end goal together, and everybody be happy and healthy and good. And at the end of the day, they do that. I mean, it is incredible. Unfortunately, they're not public school. They don't have they don't have transportation. That's a piece of their funding that's not there. They don't have any way to provide for kids to get to school. So you have to be able to take your kid. And because, there's an application to, get in. Now there are certain things that qualify you automatically. I think income is one of them. But there are certain things that will automatically get you in, but you have to, your attendance, and that includes parental involvement. So they use in-kind to provide funding for their classrooms. So as a parent, it's not, it's required that you participate. I mean, it's required that you they have different committees and that you can be on, or take classes. Some of them are like, about financial responsibility, or there's social emotional things that you can take these little classes, and that counts. Like, they will get funding for you being there. You're learning how to like better your life and help your kids and do all the things, and they're getting funding for that. And you fill out these little forms every month, and they make sure that you sign off every single month. And they have little activities. Sometimes it's the 2 minutes that you're dropping your kid off in the classroom, but they've got a little activity that you're doing. You're learning how to plant a seed, and they take you down a little thing, and you put and it's connection. You're doing this stuff with your kid, like you're doing it together. They have found ways to integrate that is absolutely blew my mind. It was amazing. And we could only do it for a few months. He was only there about 2.5 months. On the way to taking him to school, we were hit by a fire truck. And then we couldn't, to ride the city bus to get there. I would have been like, it was like almost, it's 3 miles away, almost straight south from my house, 3 miles. But to ride the city bus, it was going to take about a little over 2 hours to ride there, and then 2 hours to get back. So I would have been riding the bus the whole time. As soon as I got home, I was gonna have to turn around and go back to pick him up, and then what about my other kids? So there's no way around it. I mean, there's just no option there. So even with the best programs, there are still, shortfalls. There's things that they can't do everything. But I think it was probably SoonerStart somehow, that somehow I got hooked up with Robin Sears, who works with the Child Study Center. We found Hannah, and she did PCIT, which is Parent-Child Interaction Therapy, which really is them teaching me how to be different, how to talk to my kids different, how to react to my kids different. It's really me, because that's the bottom line. If your kids are acting crazy, or like, you are in some way responsible for that. I mean, it's just that easy. Like, quit saying, I need somebody to come fix my kid. I just had somebody the other day that kept saying, don't you have anyone that can come and teach my kid how to like stop acting like that? You're missing the point. Like, and PCIT, I did not, as I remember at one point I was like, Hannah, it sure seems like I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm like having to change all this stuff, and how I think, and how I stop and pause before I say something. And what are they doing? Like, this is their therapy, not mine. But they don't seem to be, they're not having to do anything here. She's like, just stick with me. I promise, stick with me. We'll get there. It saved our life. I mean, literally, our very first appointment was online. And so I am sitting at the bar in my kitchen, my computer on the bar, and the kids are literally jumping over and running down the couch, jumping off, they're running huge circles around the living room, and jumping on the table over my computer. Like, I've screamed, I've yelled, I've sat them down, I put them time out, I've laid in the floor and cried with them. I have done it all. They're not listening, they don't care. They're running me over. I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, what do I do? That's where I was. I mean, it was a bad place. I was trying to potty train, I mean, it was all the things all at once, like, on top of my own stuff, that was just their behaviors. It got to a point where my kids became the enemy. My kids were triggers for me, because I wasn't regulating myself. I wasn't dealing with myself. I didn't really acknowledge that I had anything to deal with. I can just not think about it, and it'll be fine, and I'll just, handle them. And there comes a point when you have to get real with yourself, and it's big. It's hard. But PCIT was definitely, again, it's nothing more than, a lot of it's consistency. A lot of it is consistency. But it's really cool. They talk to you through your ear. You put this little earpiece in, and the therapist, like you're behind a one-way mirror, and you're playing with your kid, and they're talking to you through your earpiece, telling you what to do. Like, don't touch, don't. Now, this is what you say, and they give you specific words to say, and it's a short script, and it's the same thing every time. It's repetition. It is. It's like a miracle. It is a miracle in real life. I mean, there's just no other way around it. And we were a tough case. Um, it's only supposed to take 16 weeks. We were well over a year to complete it. There was also three. I mean, and typically the cool thing about PCIT is one kid in the family can do it. And because it's the parent changing the way they talk to them, that talk carries over to the other kids. And so it works for all of them. They don't all have to go through the therapy. Um, but there were times that, Hannah didn't really know what to do. Like the behaviors we were having, it was not, we weren't making progress. And so she had a team behind her, thank goodness. She had supports then that she had to call in and say, what, I don't know what to do here. And I don't know what those conversations looked like, but she, since we graduated, and I've talked to her about some of that stuff. And so even the providers need support. They don't always have the answers either. The providers need support too. They need, and I don't know what that looks like, but they need.
Wow, yeah. So you've been through a lot of those trainings, and it sounds
Yeah.
like you've had great support through each of those different components.
Well, and I've met a lot of, that's kind of where I gathered my support along the way, is either some of them through other people that were taking the class with me, other moms that were, in a bad place, and I've made connections there. But a lot of the people have been the people that were facilitating the class. That they're moms, they're people too. I mean, maybe they might happen to be a psychologist or whatever, but they're a mom too. Like they get it. They've been there, and so you find people in this strangest places when you're not looking for them, and it's not always where you think it should be. And a lot of times, I mean, for me especially, they find you. When it's meant to be like that, those pieces just start to fit together, and they find you, the right people for your village. It's still a constant level of awareness and safety and all that stuff, but you get there. I mean, you slowly get to a point where the people who are taking advantage of you, like, they fall off, they go away because you put up healthier boundaries, and they can't use you anymore. Like, when you change who you are and the way you deal with your relationships, those people go away on their own most of the time because there's nothing for them to take advantage of it. So when those people are still coming back, the people that are still, even though you have nothing to offer them, even though you're not giving them money, or they're not in crisis all the time. They don't need you to fix them. Those people, those are the people that you should be focusing your attention on and paying attention to and nurturing those relationships, not the snake that bit you and going chasing after the snake. I just wrote a piece for my blog about, you've been bitten by a snake, and you decide to go chase the snake and convince it that you didn't deserve to be bitten. Instead of looking for the antidote, you're chasing the snake. It's backwards, but we do it. I did it. I still catch myself doing it sometimes. I still have to be very, very conscious about that. So it's rough. I mean, all the way around. It's not easy for anybody right now.
You are absolutely right. Our workforce needs to feel supported and be supported. Can you hit on your activity and participation in Partners in Policy? I know we would love to hear more about that as well.
I graduated from Partners in Policymaking last April, and
Don't remember, I was looking for something disability related and came upon this thing, and it took me probably 3 months to even do the application because I kept looking at it and I don't know. And I come back to it again, and well, maybe so. And
So I graduated in April, and my group's bill that we argued during our legislative hearing was SB 382, which I still call my group SB 382. But it was a potty training bill that was basically moving through the legislature, and it had like 2 days before we argued against our bill, it had passed through the Senate, like with flying colors. We were like, they don't get it. They're not understanding. Our potty training bill basically was going to it was mandatory that kids going into pre-K had to be potty trained. You had to basically sign a waiver that said, the waiver was, yes, you can help my child in the bathroom, or no, you cannot help them in the bathroom. And if you said, yes, you can help them, basically that meant they're not potty trained and they need assistance. And so you couldn't get into school. They weren't going to let you into school. And then there was all these stipulations. If you had, I think, 3 accidents within 30 days, then they kicked you out of school. And my first thought was, only because I had 3 boys when our major incident happened that were not potty trained. Potty training is a huge red flag for developmental stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever that looks like, there's something there. For the most part, there's something there. And so we went in with our infographics and all of our stuff and our points, and we had data behind us and all kinds of stuff. And Senator Kurt was sitting straight across me. I will never, ever forget this. She's sitting straight across from me. And whenever we started talking about our stuff, it's like it hit her. Like, oh my gosh, I did not even think about that. And she looked at us and she goes, wait, I just voted for that. I just voted for that like 2 days ago. I sent that through. And she picked up her phone, and she is on her phone that she was texting her people. I mean, she was telling them, we've messed up. We've made a mistake. We've made a mistake. We cannot let this go through. You've got to get on the phone right now. It's going to the House. We've got to stop it. It can't go through. And we did. We had it killed in committee, and it was dead. So we did it. I mean, we changed the whole viewpoint of somebody who thought she's on our side. She's one of us. She's right there in the trenches with us. And she didn't get it. She had never thought about it that way. That's kind of where this all came from. So, I get it that the teachers don't want to be doing potty training. I'm not asking them to do. I don't think we should ask them to do that. But kicking kids out of school because they're not potty trained is not the way to go. It's absolutely. And so it was a huge, huge moment for me, for my whole team really, but for me especially, because I've had my own personal stuff with, early screenings and fell through the cracks. I mean, I was doing all the right things, and it didn't work out. But again, that's kind of my whole journey is that's what's made me uniquely qualified to talk about this stuff and to tell people, because I may not have letters after my name. I may not have been in school for 18 years, but I think my point of view is the most important because it's real. It's absolutely the real deal. And they have to hear that. So, I'm always for sharing and telling, and I don't, if it steps on somebody's toes, I'm sorry, but that's the reality. And you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So, that's always my big thing is we have to acknowledge, at least be able to acknowledge that we have problems or we've made a mistake, and then get people to the table at the bare minimum, those 2 things, because nothing will happen if we can't do those 2 things. Nothing will change. And that's my other slogan. Nothing changes if nothing changes. It's so simple. It is so simple, but it's true.
So is that the point where they said, okay, let's start the interim study?
Well, the interim study was not something that was started before PIP. No, absolutely not. I had no idea that I was going to do any of that stuff. AJ Griffin, that she was the former senator, Republican senator, she's going to be like kind of the highlight speaker of the whole study. So, I mean, we've got some big people on board that are, like I said, we're not arguing about that it needs to happen, but it's funding. It's funding. It's funding. And I don't know I don't know what the fix is there.
I'm really excited for you to join us for part 3 of my conversation with Meske. She will walk us through what she dreams and desires for the interim study and share more of what she hopes that's going to look like from her perspective. Thank you for listening to this episode of We Saved You a Seat. Oklahoma Family Network promotes family-centered care and provides tools so families can make informed decisions, advocate for improved services, build connections among families, and serve as a trusted resource in health care of children and young adults. If you would like to become a supporting family or get in touch with another family, please contact Oklahoma Family Network at oklahomafamilynetwork.org or by calling 405-271-5072.